Good morning, dear all, and welcome to our program. Today, we'll be continue with our special edition of important characters in the history of translation. The third is for the best translator of Japanese literature, Edward Seidensticker. He was born on February 11 in 1921 in Colorado. He was a noted post-World War III scholar, historian, and prominent translator of classical and contemporary Japanese literature. He studied economics and graduated in English in 1942. Later, he joined the Japanese school that the U.S. Navy had set up for the war. There, he learned to speak Japanese. Then, he became part of the U.S. Navy. He practiced his Japanese when he was transferred to the California base and had contact with Japanese prisoners of war, and there he had the task of translating the captured documents and interrogating the prisoners. In 1947, he began pursuing his master's degree in public law and government at the University of Columbia. Later, he did other studies at the universities of Yale and Harvard. He was transferred to Tokyo to be part of the diplomatic section of the Supreme Commander of the Allied Powers. In 1950, he retired because he decided that this was not his vocation. So, he decided to study Japanese literature at the University of Tokyo and completed his studies. Then, he worked as a professor of literature at the University of Sofia in Tokyo, and he decided to return to the United States, and there he was a professor of Japanese at the Universities of Stanford, Michigan, and Columbia. Seidensticker is widely regarded as one of the best translators of modern and classical Japanese literature into English. His translations have been described as brilliant and elegant. A contemporary scholar noted that in Seidensticker's translations you could feel the emotions and the nuances that the original writer wanted to convey. He has even been described as the best translator of Japanese literature. And with this, I'll welcome my partner Juan Pablo, who will tell you more about this incredible character.
Thank you, Tatiana, and hello everyone. I hope all of you are well in your homes. And thank you for listening to our program. My name is Juan Pablo, and I am known for studying and analyzing the different perspectives presented by different translators in the world. For today, as my partner and presenter has been mentioning, we are talking about the great translator Edward Seidensticker, recognized for the great contributions he has brought to literature by translating Japanese books so that the community is informed and knows about this great culture. As we mentioned before, this translator has focused mainly on Japanese literature, so we will talk a little bit about his greatest contributions as a translator. Okay, to begin with, it is very important to mention that Edward Seidensticker is considered an expert in Heian period of literature. To put you a bit in context, the Heian period, commonly known as the period of peace and quiet in English, is the last period of the classical period of Japanese history, between the years 794 to 1185, in which the capital was Kyoto. Now, with a clear context, one of the contributions for which he is commonly known is for his translation of Genji Monogatari to English. Genji Monogatari, usually translated as Genji novel, Genji romance, or Genji story, is a classic novel of Japanese literature, considered by many to be the oldest novel in history, written around the year 1000 by Murasaki Shikibu. Basically, this novel tells the story of Prince Genji through 54 chapters that include his entire love life, his recovery from imperial power, and the life of his son and grandson after his death. And now we have a great surprise for our listeners. Today we have the opportunity to have the presence of the translator Edward Seidensticker. It is a honor to be here with him, and we would like him to tell us a little bit about his position.
Hello everyone. I'm Edward Seidensticker. I'm very happy and glad to be here with you. I appreciate this opportunity that Tatiana and Juan Pablo gave to me to offer you a different point of view about translation and my position in it, according what I learned in all this time doing this beautiful job, this beautiful art, but at the same time very difficult. You know that the thing that I'm gonna tell you, it will be a useful lesson, because when things move from one language to another, and this is one of the great difficulties and one of the mysteries and one of the fascination of translation, they change. You know that somehow, however accurate the translation is, the mood is different in one language and in another. For me, translation really is an exercise in the possible. And speaking of literally translation, okay? When it comes to practical translation, translation of business letters, translation of instruction manuals, that kind of things, I think probably something approaching perfect translation is possible. I don't think it is possible for literal translation. Here we come to my subject, the idea of the practice of translation. One has an idea of what constitutes perfect translation, okay? But in practice, that's not the way it works. I think of translation as being constant succession of choices, okay? You are constantly having to choose between one possible solution to a problem in translation and another. And the trouble is that neither solution is ever or very rarely a perfect one, okay? My idea of translation is nothing really very philosophical at all. Okay, my idea of translation is that it is imitation. Okay, you do your best to imitate the word that you are putting into another language. If you can come up with a perfect imitation, then you have come up with a perfect translation. But this is not really happening. You are constantly having to make choices, and almost without exception, the choice you made is not a perfect choice. Okay, when you have to choose between A and B, or ABC, or ABCD, the choice you make always leaves something out that will be in one of other choice. Okay, which lead us to the conclusion that translation, literally translation, is an imperfect process. Okay, it's an imperfect process. So we all know that this is a very difficult job, but if you take into account this lesson that I gave you, I'm very sure that your future translation are going to be more precise in comparison with the others. Okay, so I really appreciate this invitation. Thank you, Tatiana. Thank you, Juan Pablo, for this, and see you later. Okay, thank you so much.
Well, after listening to the position of this incredible author, I very much agree with it. Since to translate, it is necessary to have a full knowledge of the author's intentions when writing his work. In addition, to have a great knowledge of history and culture of each era, to be able to correctly express the emotions and feelings that are developed in each story.
Exactly, Juan Pablo. Translating is an art, and the most difficult thing is to transfer all those non-literal things to the target language. As we know, literature is characterized by transmitting many emotions and feelings to the reader that are not literally written in the text. And more if we refer to Japanese literature, where we find these incredible and wonderful stories that describe very well each emotion of the character. And what is wanted when translating a work is that there is no loss, but that it causes the same impact on the reader in both the source language and the target language. Therefore, Edward's position is very significant in the field of translation, since he wants through his expressions to also convey all those feelings of the author of the work.
Yes, as stated by the translator, you must have direct contact with the author of the work in order to carry out an adequate and accurate translation, because, as we have mentioned, Japanese literature is full of ambiguities due to the nature of development of their stories. Also, as the translator Macmillan puts it, to translate it is necessary to know the original intention of the author of the work. As he says, translating is like a marriage, where a great measure of love and empathy is needed. Therefore, the translator must put himself in the author's place and analyze every detail and work deeply in order to have the most accurate translation of his work in the target language.
This is also true. The translator Hibbett, who shared the thoughts of his colleagues, he said that to translate Japanese literature it was necessary to consider with what intention the author wrote each sentence, to make its correct translation into the other language. And although there are differing opinions and theories that raise other points of view, for me translation is a job that requires extensive knowledge of the feelings and intentions with which each author prepared their work in order to transmit the same to the reader in the target language.
Okay, every opinion counts and contributes to this incredible field of translation. Thanks to our guest for being with us today. Until next time.
That's right. Thanks to our guests today for sharing your thoughts with us, and mainly thanks to our audience for listening to us today. We hope you have an excellent day.